The planet was quiet. Too quiet. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead as he walked deeper into the alien jungle. Purple leaves brushed against his arms. His scanner beeped slowly. No signs of life, no danger, just silence. But Daniel didn't believe it. He had explored 6 planets. Each one had ruins, strange signals, and broken machines. But this one felt different. He stepped through thick vines and saw something ahead. Stone pillars, a large gate, and beyond that, an old alien temple covered in moss and vines. "This must be it," he whispered. He walked inside. The air felt cold, like someone had just left. He looked up. The roof was high, carved with stars and moons that didn't belong to Earth. And in the center of the room stood a statue. She was tall, beautiful, not human. Her ears were long, her eyes closed, and her body wrapped in a strange robe full of patterns. Her hands were held in front of her chest. A glowing, round crystal was fixed just above her heart. Daniel stared at her. Creepy, but kind of amazing. He circled the statue, touching the base. Felt warm. Too warm for cold stone. He stood in front of her again, then smiled and tapped the glowing crystal with his finger. Boop! He laughed. But then everything changed. The light in the crystal grew brighter. The room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Strange symbols on the walls lit up, one by one, like they were waking up. Daniel stepped back. Uh-oh! The statue's head slowly turned. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened golden, glowing, and ancient. Then she moved. Before Daniel could run, she grabbed his hand. Her grip was soft, but strong. And then she leaned in close and whispered something that made Daniel freeze. "Daniel!" His eyes widened. How do you know my name?" She didn't answer. She blinked once. Then her body went limp. She fell forward, and Daniel caught her. She was no longer stone. She was warm, real, alive. Daniel gently placed her on the floor. Her breathing was slow. Her skin looked smooth and pale like moonlight. A faint light still shone from the crystal in her chest. He looked down at his own hand. Where she had touched him, a strange mark was now glowing. A circle with 3 arrows pointing out. This isn't normal. Daniel dragged her outside the temple. He laid her on a soft bed of grass under the purple trees. He tapped his communicator. "Base, this is Daniel. You won't believe what just happened." The statue, it moved. She said my name. No signal. Static. He checked his scanner. The numbers were all wrong. Time, temperature, gravity, everything was glitching. Then he heard something. Click, click, click. He turned. From the trees, strange machines crawled out. Metal spiders with glowing red eyes. Ancient guardians. One of them scanned Daniel and said in a deep, metallic voice, "Chosen one. Reconnection initiated." Daniel aimed his blaster. "Stay back." He fired. The shot bounced off. The machines closed in. Suddenly, a beam of blue energy shot from behind him, blasting the first spider to pieces. Daniel turned. She was awake. The alien woman stood tall, her eyes glowing again. Her hand pointed at the machines. One by one, she silently shut them down with her power. When it was over, she turned to Daniel and collapsed again. He rushed to her side. "Hey, are you okay?" She opened her eyes slowly. "You came back," she whispered. "What do you mean? I've never been here before." "You touched the seal," she said. "The mark chose you. Your soul. It remembers." "I'm just a scout," he replied. "I don't know anything about marks or seals." She touched his face softly. "You are not just Daniel. You are more than you know." And then she fainted again. Daniel sat beside her, heart pounding. He looked at the sky. The sun was setting. The trees swayed in silence. His hand still burned with the glowing mark. "Who are you?" he whispered. He stared at her sleeping face. Alien, mysterious, but somehow familiar. He didn't believe in magic. He didn't believe in destiny. But she had whispered his name, and he never told her. And now, deep inside, something old had awakened. Something waiting for thousands of years. Something that was now looking through his eyes. The night was strange. Daniel sat beside the sleeping alien woman under the stars. The soft glow from her chest crystal pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. The jungle around them was quiet, but not peaceful. Felt like the world was holding its breath. He stared at his wrist. The glowing mark burned faintly, a circle with 3 arrows. "This thing wasn't here before," he said quietly. "What did you do to me?" He looked at her again. She wasn't a statue anymore. She was breathing, her skin warm, her hair glowing like soft silver. Her face looked calm. But he remembered her words. "You are not just Daniel." "What did that mean?" he whispered. Suddenly, his wrist mark flashed bright blue. His body jerked forward as a sharp pain shot through his head. His eyes widened as images flooded his mind. Fast, broken flashes like memories from a dream. He saw himself in armor, standing in fire, shouting in a language he didn't know, leading strange soldiers in battle, holding the same woman in his arms. This can't be real. A sound broke the silence. Thump, thump, thump. Daniel turned quickly. The temple behind them was glowing. The walls lit up with moving symbols. Energy lines crawled across the stone like veins, and something deep inside began to wake up. Suddenly, the ground shook. 3 stone towers rose from the earth near the temple. A deep voice echoed from them. Mark confirmed. Host recognized. Commander Kale. Reconnected. Daniel's heart skipped. Kale? Who's Kale? He stood up, backing away as the towers opened. Strange machines stepped out, tall, armored walkers with blue lights across their bodies. Not like the spiders from before. These were bigger, older, smarter. They didn't attack. Instead, they knelt before him. "Welcome, Commander." Daniel blinked. No, I'm not your commander. I'm not Kale." But the machines didn't care. One of them projected a hologram, a glowing image of a man standing tall in armor. The face was his, but older, fiercer, with glowing eyes and a cold stare. "He looks like me," Daniel whispered. "But that's not me." The sleeping woman behind him groaned softly. Daniel rushed back to her. "Hey, wake up, please. I need answers." Her eyes opened slowly. She looked at the towers, the machines, and then at him. "You've awakened them," she said, her voice weak. "The world remembers you." "I'm not this Kale guy," he said. "I'm just Daniel, a scout from Earth." She smiled sadly. "Daniel is your name now. Kale was your name before." Daniel shook his head. "I don't remember anything." "You're not supposed to," she said. "Not yet." The ground shook again. A loud blast of static filled the air. From above, a dark shadow passed across the sky. Daniel looked up. A black ship hovered silently above the jungle. Sleek, sharp, deadly. Elora, the alien woman, sat up quickly. Her face turned pale. "The Nyrex, they've returned." "Nyrex?" Daniel asked. "They followed the signal. When the temple woke up, it sent a call. Now they know. Kale lives again." The ship dropped 3 metal spheres. They hovered, scanning the ground. Then they opened. From inside came tall figures, humanoid but thin, with black armor and glowing red eyes. They looked like hunters. One of them spoke in a crackling voice. "Surrender the chosen, or be erased." Daniel raised his blaster. Not a chance. The hunter aimed a weapon at him. Before it could fire, one of the towers behind Daniel released a beam of energy, hitting the hunter and blasting it into pieces. The other 2 leaped into action. Daniel fired, dodged, and ducked behind a tree. The machines that had bowed to him now rushed forward, protecting him and Elora. A small war started in the jungle. Laser fire lit up the night. Elora stood up slowly, her crystal shining. Daniel looked at her. "We need to run." "No," she said calmly. "You need to remember." "What?" She placed her hand on his chest. "I can't make you Kale again, but I can unlock a part of him. Just a little." Blue light surged from her hand into his body. Daniel screamed. His eyes glowed. Suddenly, He saw everything clearly. Battlefields, stars exploding, ships crashing, her face crying, his voice yelling orders, and then silence. He opened his eyes. His mark stopped glowing. The machines around him paused and turned to him again, awaiting command. Daniel looked at Elora. I remember pieces. Not much. Just feelings. Anger. Fire. War. That's enough for now, she said. The remaining hunters disappeared into the trees. The black ship above them vanished. Elora placed her hand in his. They know you're alive. This is only the beginning. Daniel looked down at his hand. The mark no longer scared him. Felt like part of him. He took a deep breath. Then I guess I need to find out who I really am. The campfire cracked softly in the quiet jungle night. Daniel sat across from the alien woman, Elora. The orange flames lit her pale face as she wrapped a silver cloth around her shoulders. Her crystal heart still glowed faintly, pulsing like it was alive. They had escaped the machines and the Nyrex hunters for now. But danger still floated above the trees in the form of a black ship, hidden in the clouds, watching. Daniel broke the silence. You said my name was Kale. In another life. Elora looked up. Her golden eyes shimmered with sadness. You were Kale, she said. A warrior. A leader. The heart of a rebellion. Daniel frowned. I don't remember any of it. I only saw flashes. War. Pain. Your face crying. That's enough for your soul to feel the truth. But I was born on Earth. I'm human. Elora nodded. Yes, you are a rebirth. A spark of Kale's soul placed in a human body. The machines chose you, and I recognized you. Daniel stared into the fire. So, you knew me? She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that hides pain. I loved you. Daniel's heart skipped. I loved Kale, she continued. But Kale loved war. He chose battle over peace. He became someone I couldn't reach anymore. In the end, he disappeared. The war ended. But I was left alone. Daniel swallowed hard. I don't feel like him. I feel like me. That's good, she said softly. Because maybe you can become someone better. A cold wind passed through the trees. Elora closed her eyes. For thousands of years, she whispered, I stood asleep in that temple, waiting, hoping that someday you would return. Daniel looked down at the mark on his wrist. It had stopped glowing, but the shape was burned deep into his skin. You waited for me all that time? For your soul, she said. Not your body. He didn't know what to say. Suddenly, the fire crackled louder. Daniel looked up. A small floating orb came through the trees. It hovered, scanning them. Elora stood quickly. A memory sphere, she whispered. It belongs to the old ones. It holds pieces of Kale's past. The orb floated closer and projected a blue light. A hologram appeared, blurry at first, then clear. Daniel saw Kale. His face. His voice. It was him, but colder, sharper like a blade. He stood in armor, yelling orders to a group of strange alien soldiers. We attack at dawn. The Nyrex will fall. No mercy. The scene shifted. Kale was standing beside Elora. She was crying. Please, Kale, stop this. There must be another way. You don't understand, Kale said. This is the only way to protect our people. You're not protecting us anymore, she said. You're becoming like them. The memory ended. Daniel stood frozen. That was me? Elora nodded slowly. That was who you were. Daniel turned away. I don't want to be him. You don't have to, she said. You are Daniel now. A new soul. A new chance. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound from the trees. Daniel grabbed his blaster. What now? From the shadows, a strange creature appeared. Not Nyrex, not machine. It looked like a mix of plant and metal, glowing with red veins. It growled low. Elora stepped back. A memory beast. It feeds on strong pasts. It followed the sphere. The beast charged. Daniel fired. Missed. The beast slammed into him and threw him across the ground. His blaster flew from his hand. The mark on his wrist glowed bright. In that moment, something changed in Daniel's eyes. He stood up, angry, but calm. No more running. He raised his hand. The same blue energy Kale once used shot out of his palm and hit the beast, knocking it into a tree. It roared and vanished into smoke. Elora rushed over. You used Kale's power. Daniel's hands were shaking. I didn't try to. It just happened. She looked at him with wonder and fear. The power is waking up. But be careful. That same power once made you cruel. Daniel sat down, breathing hard. I'm not him, he said. I won't become a monster. Elora placed a hand on his shoulder. I believe you. The fire slowly died. Above them, stars filled the sky. Strange constellations. Not Earth's. Daniel looked up, his voice soft. Tell me something. Before the war. Before Kale changed. What was he like? Elora smiled gently. He was kind, brave, curious. Like you. Daniel nodded. Then maybe I can keep the good parts? And leave the rest behind. But far above them, in the black Nyrex ship, a red eye flickered to life. A robotic voice said, Target confirmed. Kale has returned. Phase 2 begins. Wind passed gently through the alien jungle as the morning sun rose over the ruins. Daniel stood alone near the temple gate. His eyes were locked on the blue mark glowing on his wrist. The same mark that brought everything back, the machines, the memories, the war, and her. Behind him, Elora watched in silence. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. She knew the war inside him had just begun. Daniel finally spoke. You said I was Kale, a warrior, but no one ever told me. What happened in the war? Elora walked forward and stood beside him. It began long before your world was born, she said softly. My people, the Iliari, were peaceful. We studied stars. We built cities in the skies. Then they came, the Nyrex. Machines? Daniel asked. No. Worse. They were once living. Like us. But they gave up their bodies and became metal and code. They erased their feelings, their hearts. They called it evolution. We called it a curse. Daniel nodded slowly. They destroyed our worlds, one by one, Elora continued, until one day you, Kale, stood against them. You were not Iliari. You came from a different system, a warrior race. You gave us hope. And I led the war, Daniel said quietly. Elora looked away. Yes, but war changes everyone. Suddenly, the temple doors behind them lit up. Strange symbols began to move like water. A deep voice echoed through the stone. Access granted. War archives unlocked. Daniel stepped forward. It wants me to remember more. Elora held his arm. Be careful. What you see may hurt. I need to know, he replied. The doors opened slowly with a deep rumble. Inside, the walls glowed blue. In the center of the room was a platform surrounded by floating crystals. As Daniel stepped onto it, the crystals lit up and showed moving images from the past. He saw himself, Kale, leading Iliari soldiers, fighting Nyrex armies. Explosions, fire, blood. He saw himself argue with council leaders. He saw people cheering his name. Then he saw himself burning a city. A child screaming. Elora crying. Daniel fell to his knees. No, what is this? Elora walked closer. You didn't start as a monster, but you believed that peace was weakness. You thought only fire could save us. That was the day. I lost you. Daniel's hands trembled. I don't want this. I don't want his war. His pain. But this war, she said, never ended. The Nyrex are still out there. Still waiting. Suddenly, the crystals flickered. A new voice filled the room. Cold, sharp, robotic. Commander Kale, you survived. Good. We hoped you would. Daniel turned around, startled. Who's there? The hologram changed. A tall Nyrex figure appeared, red eyes, black armor, a face like a metal skull. We learned much from your last war, but this time you will not win. The hologram vanished. The temple began to shake. Invasion detected. A voice warned. Defensive mode active. Elora grabbed Daniel's hand. They found us. Outside, the sky darkened. The black Nyrex ship descended from the clouds like a giant shadow. Metal pods dropped from its belly, landing across the jungle like falling stars. They opened and the Nyrex army marched out. Hundreds of them, all cold, all perfect, all silent. Daniel and Elora ran toward the old camp. The defense towers, the ones that once bowed to him, rose again, ready to fight. Daniel's wrist burned. I don't want this war, he said. But I can't run from it either. He reached out. The towers responded. Energy beams launched into the sky. The first line of Nyrex troops fell. Elora fought beside him, her hands glowing, her eyes filled with light. They were outnumbered but not outwilled. After hours of battle, smoke filled the air. Trees burned. The sky was dark again. Daniel stood over the broken body of a Nyrex warrior. His face was dirty, his armor cracked, but his eyes were clear. This war wasn't just forgotten, he said. It was waiting. Elora sat beside him, breathing hard. The Nyrex don't care about peace, she said. They want order. A galaxy where no one feels, no one hopes. Daniel looked at her. Then we give them something they don't understand. What? Heart. But far away, deep in the black ship, the red-eyed commander watched through the screens. He still fights with emotion, it said. Still weak. Still human. Another voice replied. And yet, he still wins. The commander turned. Then we changed the plan. Send the message. To who? The other asked. To her. Back at the camp, Elora looked up, worried. I felt something shift. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. Let them come, he said. I'm ready now. But somewhere in the stars, a new player was awakening. One who knew Kale better than Elora ever did. One who had waited even longer. Daniel sat alone under the broken sky. Smoke still rose from the burned trees. The jungle was quiet again, but not in peace. It was the silence after a storm. His hands were shaking. The blue mark on his wrist now spread like cracks across his arm, glowing with power he didn't understand, and maybe didn't want. Elora walked toward him. She sat beside him, her crystal heart still glowing faintly. You did well, she said. I destroyed them, Daniel whispered. I didn't even think. The power, it just came. You had no choice, she said. Daniel looked at his reflection in a pool of rainwater. His eyes glowed faintly now, just like Kale's did in the memories. I'm changing. Elora said nothing. Then Daniel asked the question that had haunted him since the temple showed him the war. Was Kale a hero or a monster? Elora looked down. He was both, she said. But near the end he stopped choosing. He let the power decide for him. Daniel stood up slowly. I won't let that happen to me. Later, as stars returned to the sky, a strange metal orb floated into the camp. It beeped softly and projected a small blue screen. Daniel raised his blaster. Wait, Elora said. It's a message drone. Iliari tech. Very old. The screen turned on. A face appeared. A woman. Pale skin. Dark hair. Silver armor. Her eyes were calm, but sharp like a blade. To Kale, if you're watching this, I am alive. Daniel blinked. Who is that? Elora's face went cold. My name is Serana. I was your partner in battle. I fought beside you, until the day you disappeared. Now the galaxy prepares for war again. If you've truly returned, you must choose. Reclaim the weapon. Finish what we started. Or let the Nyrex win. But understand this, if you do not act, I will. The screen shut off. Daniel stood frozen. Another person who knew Kale? He asked. Elora nodded slowly. Serana was Kale's second in command. And Daniel waited. She once loved him too, Elora said. That night, Daniel had a dream. He stood in a dark room with mirrors. In each mirror, he saw a different version of himself. One was Kale, the armored warrior, strong and full of rage. One was Daniel, scared but kind, holding Elora's hand. One was something else. Eyes glowing red, hands full of fire, standing over a broken world. A voice echoed in the dark. What will you become? He woke up sweating. Elora stood at the edge of the camp, watching the horizon. I know where the weapon is, she said quietly. The one Kale once used to destroy entire armies. Daniel got up. Where? In the ruins of Sorel, she replied. Deep under the desert sands. Daniel looked at his hands. And I'm the only one who can unlock it? Elora nodded. Only someone with the mark. He sighed. Then let's go. After days of travel, they reached the desert. The sands were golden under the twin suns. In the middle of the heat stood a broken tower. Beneath it, the entrance to the weapon vault. Inside, ancient walls were covered with carvings. Machines slept, dust covering their faces. At the end of the chamber was a giant door with a round slot in the center, shaped exactly like Daniel's wrist mark. Are you sure about this? Elora asked. Daniel stepped forward. I don't want this weapon, he said. But if the Nyrex already have one, I need something to fight back. He placed his hand on the door. The mark flashed. The door opened. Inside, floating in the air, was a spear made of light, long silver, humming with energy. The spear of Kale, Elora whispered. As Daniel reached out, the spear flew into his hand. Power surged through him. Suddenly, pain exploded in his head. He fell to his knees. Flashes again, but stronger. Kale's memories, thousands of them. Battles, destruction, blood a rage. Then, a memory of Serana. She was crying. You said you'd protect us. Not become worse than them. They started this, Kale shouted. I'll finish it. Back in the present, Daniel gasped. Elora rushed to him. What did you see? I saw myself burning cities, losing control, becoming a weapon, not a man. He stood slowly, holding the glowing spear. I won't make his mistake. But far above, in a floating Nyrex base, Serana stood watching Daniel through a screen. A scar crossed her cheek now. Her armor was cracked. Her eyes, no longer soft. He found the spear, she said. A Nyrex commander beside her replied, Shall we destroy him now? Serana smiled coldly. No, let him remember who he is first. Then I'll see if he chooses to save us, or burn us. Back on the desert, Daniel stared into the sky. I didn't ask for this, he said. Elora placed her hand on his arm. But you were chosen, she whispered. He looked at the spear. I'm done running. High above the desert, the sky cracked open. A massive silver ship appeared through the clouds, casting a long shadow over the sand. It looked like a blade made from stars, sharp, cold, and ancient. Daniel and Elora stood at the edge of a cliff, staring up at it. That's not Nyrex, Daniel said. No, Elora whispered. That ship is Iliari. Daniel narrowed his eyes. Our own people? Elora's voice turned bitter. Not mine. Not anymore. The ship began sending a signal, a deep, slow hum that shook the ground. Suddenly, a voice filled the air. Kale, come aboard. We have much to discuss. Daniel stepped back. That voice. I know it. Elora's face went pale. Serana. Later, inside the ship's bright metal halls, Daniel walked behind two robotic guards. His spear had been taken, and a strange device placed over his wrist to cover the mark. The guards led him to a tall chamber with glass walls and a glowing map of the galaxy. Serana stood waiting. She hadn't changed much. Same black armor, same sharp eyes, but her voice had lost all warmth. You look different, she said. Daniel crossed his arms. So do you. She circled him slowly. When you disappeared, the Iliari Council collapsed. I tried to hold them together. I tried to lead. And now? Daniel asked. Now I follow logic, not emotion. He shook his head. So you're like the Nyrex? No, she said calmly. Better. She tapped a console. A projection lit up. Planets burning. Cities falling. Nyrex ships spreading across star systems. We cannot win this war with heart, Serana said. We need control. precision, cold action. Daniel watched silently. Serana stepped closer. I brought you here to ask one question. Go on. Will you join me? Daniel frowned. What does that mean? Use the power, she said. Use Kale's memory, his rage, his weapon. We strike first. We destroy the Nyrex before they even reach us. Daniel's jaw clenched. You're asking me to become the monster I swore I wouldn't be. Serana's voice dropped. I'm asking you to stop pretending to be Daniel. You are Kale. Daniel looked at her. No, I'm both. I remember Kale, but I am Daniel now, and I'll fight with balance, not destruction. Serana's face turned hard. Wrong answer. Suddenly, the guards grabbed him. Serana raised a hand. If I can't have Kale willingly, I'll awaken him fully. She nodded to the wall. A machine opened. Inside, a sharp helmet glowing with red wires. The memory core, she said. We place this on your head, and you will remember everything. No more human. Only Kale. Daniel struggled, but the guards held him still. Serana leaned in. You were the galaxy's strongest weapon, but you forgot. Now, I will help you remember. But just before the helmet touched his head, boom! An explosion rocked the ship. Smoke filled the chamber. A figure leapt in fast, glowing, fierce. It was Elora. Let him go, she shouted, firing a blue blast at the guards. Daniel kicked one aside and grabbed Serana's arm. You lied to me. She didn't flinch. I gave you a choice. You chose weakness. Elora ran to Daniel's side. We have to go. But Serana pressed a button. A field of red energy blocked the exit. No one leaves. The room shook again. Outside the window, Nyrex ships were attacking. The galaxy was at war once more. Serana stared at Elora. You, always the reason he held back. You softened him, made him weak. You never understood him, Elora said. Kale wasn't weak. He was human. Serana fired a shot at Elora. Daniel stepped in front. The blast hit his chest and sent him flying into the wall. He groaned, his body glowing as the mark on his wrist burned through the metal band and reawakened. The spear, locked deep in the ship, sensed the signal. It broke free and flew across the halls, crashing into the chamber. Daniel caught it midair. The light returned to his eyes, but this time not angry, calm, controlled. He looked at both women. I won't be your weapon, Serana. She raised her blaster again. Elora shouted, Daniel, watch out! Too late. The blast hit his side. He collapsed. The room turned silent. Serana stepped back, breathing hard. Her hands shook. I didn't mean. Elora ran to him, tears falling. But Daniel opened his eyes slowly. No more war between us, he said, voice low. He pointed the spear toward the ceiling and released a burst of light. It shut down the energy field. He looked at Serana. This is your last chance. Help us, or stay lost in the past. For a long second, Serana said nothing. Then, she dropped her weapon. I'll think about it. Daniel nodded. Elora helped him to his feet. They walked to the exit. But before leaving, Daniel turned back one last time. You were right about one thing, he said. I was Kale, but I'm something new now. Back on the desert, as the ship vanished into the stars, Elora looked at him. You almost died. I've died once already, he smiled. This time, I choose who I become. But far away in Nyrex space, a new enemy was watching. One older than Kale. One even Elora didn't know existed. And it had just woken up. The stars were burning. All across the galaxy, battle cries echoed. Machines screamed. Ships exploded like fireworks in the dark. And deep in the center of it all, he stood alone. Daniel, once Kale, now something in between. He stood at the edge of an old battlefield, ashes blowing in the wind. The spear in his hand glowed with quiet power. His mark pulsed on his wrist like a heartbeat. Beside him, Elora watched in silence. I don't feel like Daniel anymore, he said softly. Then who do you feel like? She asked. He looked up at the night sky. I don't know. A signal blinked on his communicator. It was Serana. Her voice was quiet, not cold, not angry, just tired. The final Nyrex weapon has awakened, she said. We were too late. It's not a ship. It's not an army. It's a mind. Their first leader. The one who turned them all into machines. They call it the 01. Daniel clenched his jaw. It's coming for you. It still remembers Kale. The signal ended. Elora looked at him. If you face it, you might not come back. Daniel nodded. Maybe I was never supposed to. She grabbed his hand. You're not Kale. You're not a weapon. I'm not Daniel either, he whispered. I'm something new. Something in between. He looked at her gently. But I know one thing. What? I won't let them erase the last part of me that's still human. They traveled to the dead zone, a forgotten system where nothing grew and nothing lived. No stars, no light, just one giant machine floating in the dark. The home of 01. The ship was black, smooth like glass, but wide like a city. No windows, no doors, until Daniel arrived. Then it opened like it had been waiting. He stepped inside. The air was thick, heavy with memory. Then the voice came. You have returned. It echoed from every wall. You once led our end. You were Kale. And now, you are new. Shall we restart the cycle? Daniel looked around. I came to end it. Endings require choices. You must choose. Power or peace. Burn the galaxy or silence it forever. You can be God or ghost. Daniel raised the spear. I choose to be neither. Suddenly the walls shifted. He was pulled into a simulation room. Glowing white space filled with mirrors. Each mirror showed a version of him. Kale the Destroyer. Daniel the Explorer. A version glowing with Nyrex metal. A version empty, quiet, soulless. Then the voice asked, which one is your truth? He looked at each version, then smashed the mirrors with the spear. All of them, and none of them. I choose my own path. The spear burned blue, brighter than ever before. 01 screamed. The machine shook. Alarms blared. The voice returned, louder, angry. You are not Kale. You are not Iliari. You are unknown. You are chaos. Daniel smiled. Exactly. He stabbed the spear into the floor. Energy exploded through the ship, racing into every wire, every memory bank. He wasn't just fighting a machine. He was fighting the idea that people never change. Outside, Elora and Serana watched from their ships. The giant machine shook, then cracked. A wave of blue light spread across the stars. The war stopped. Nyrex units shut down. Weapons froze. Ships powered off. Daniel's light, the light of choice, had ended the program. Inside the ship, he stood in silence. Smoke all around. The spear was broken. His mark was gone. He fell to his knees and smiled. Days later, on a quiet green world, Elora sat by a lake. A small ship landed behind her. She turned. Daniel stepped out, tired, thinner, but alive. I thought you were gone, she whispered. I almost was, he said. But I remembered. Your voice. She ran to him, hugged him tight. What do we call you now? She asked. He looked at the water, at his reflection, and smiled. Call me what you want. My name was never mine. But this life is. He sat beside her under the sun. For the first time there was no war, no memory of fire, just peace, just now. And it was enough.